The ship drifted through the endless dark. Its engines were dead. Its lights flickered weakly like a dying candle. From the outside, it looked like a ghost ship, silent, broken, lost to the void. But then, a small human vessel latched onto its side. A single man stepped inside. His boots echoed against the metal floor, each step sharp and heavy in the emptiness. His name was not known to them. To the galaxy, he was just one more human survivor. But to this ship, he was now the intruder who had seized control. He had boarded many wrecks before. Most were dead ships, burned and empty. But this one was different. He felt it the moment he crossed the airlock. The air was warm, too warm, as if the ship itself was alive and breathing. The corridors stretched long and narrow, lined with strange symbols glowing faintly on the walls. His hand tightened around his weapon. He moved slowly, careful, scanning every corner. The silence pressed against him, heavy and unnatural. Then came the sound, a soft shuffle, the faint crack of something small dropping onto the floor. He froze. His eyes darted toward the shadow at the end of the hall, and from that shadow, two small figures stepped forward. They were not soldiers. They were not armed. They were two alien girls, twins. Their skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, a pale silver tone that almost seemed to glow. Their large eyes, deep and bright, locked onto him. For a moment, no one moved. The man raised his weapon instinctively. The girls gasped, huddling close together as if to protect each other. One of them whispered something in a language he did not know, but her fear was clear in her trembling voice. The other spoke next, this time in broken human tongue. Her voice cracked as she asked, "Will you hurt us?" The man did not answer. He stood in silence, his eyes fixed on them, his mind racing. Why were they here? Where was the crew? Why was this ship drifting abandoned, with only these two children left alive? He stepped closer. They stepped back. The ship groaned, metal, straining against itself as if it disliked the tension. He lowered his weapon, but only slightly. "Who else is here?" he asked, his voice deep, calm, but edged with steel. The twins looked at each other. Something unspoken passed between them. Then the older one, or perhaps just the braver one, spoke. "No one. All gone. All gone?" The man narrowed his eyes. "Gone where?" The girls shook their heads. "Taken," one whispered. "They came from the dark. They took them." The man's grip on his weapon tightened again. The void was full of dangers, raiders, scavengers, parasites that crawled aboard sleeping ships. But the fear in the girls' voices was too real, too raw, to be a trick. He studied them carefully. They were identical in every way. The same silver hair, falling across their faces, the same wide glowing eyes, the same strange clothing marked with symbols. Yet there was one difference. One twin had a scar running across her cheek, thin and jagged like she had barely survived something violent. The scarred one stepped forward. She held her hands up in surrender, her voice shaking, but strong. "We do not fight you, we ask only please do not hurt us." The man's heart was stone. He had seen too much death, too many traps to be swayed by soft words. But as he looked at the two fragile figures, clinging to each other in the dim corridor, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Suspicion, yes, but also something else. Pity. He lowered his weapon fully this time. "I won't hurt you," he said slowly, "but you will tell me everything." The ship shuddered suddenly, as if reacting to his words. The lights flickered, dimmed, then brightened again. The girls flinched, their eyes darting toward the ceiling. "It watches," one of them whispered. The man frowned. "What watches?" They did not answer. Instead, they clung tighter to each other. Their silence was more terrifying than words. The man felt a chill run down his spine, though the air was hot and thick. He realized then that the real danger was not the girls. It was something else, something hidden deep within the ship. He forced himself to stay calm. "Show me the command deck," he ordered. If you're the only ones left, then you'll guide me. The twins exchanged another silent glance. Slowly, they nodded. They turned, their small bare feet tapping lightly against the metal floor, leading him deeper into the ship. The man followed, his weapon still in hand. Every step echoed louder. Every flicker of light revealed shapes that looked like claws and shadows that twisted unnaturally. He kept his eyes on the twins, but his mind stayed sharp, alert. Their fear seemed genuine, but the unease in his chest grew heavier with each step. Why had they survived when the rest had not? Why had they asked if he would hurt them, as if they expected pain from anyone who found them? At last, the girls stopped at a large sealed door. Strange markings ran across, its surface glowing faintly like veins of fire. The twins pressed their hands against it, and with a heavy groan, the door slid open. The man raised his weapon again, ready for anything. But what lay inside was not what he expected. The command deck was empty. Every console was cracked, every chair torn, every screen shattered. Yet the strangest part was the silence. No alarms, no error codes, no system failures flashing across the panels. Just silence. The twins turned to him. Their eyes glistened, and for the first time, he saw tears. "It is still here," one whispered. "Please, save us." The man felt the weight of their words sink deep into his bones. He had seized the ship, yes. But in that moment, standing before the ruined command deck with two trembling alien twins begging for his protection, he realized something chilling. This was not his ship to seize. This ship had already been claimed, by something unseen, by something waiting. The man stood still, his weapon raised, scanning the ruined command deck. Every surface told a story of violence: broken screens, bent steel, deep claw marks carved into the walls. Yet there were no bodies, no blood, no sign of the crew. It was as if they had been erased, pulled out of existence. The twins clung to each other behind him, whispering in their strange tongue, their voices trembling with fear. He turned sharply to face them. "What happened here?" he demanded. His voice echoed hard and cold. The scarred twin lifted her, eyes shimmering with tears. We do not know all, but we heard them scream." Then silence. They were taken. Taken by who? The man stepped closer, his shadow falling over them. The other twin whispered. "Not who. Not raiders, not pirates. It was something else." The man narrowed his eyes. He had fought raiders before. He had seen mercenaries burn whole ships just to steal scraps. But this felt different. This ship was not looted. It was left behind. Like a cage no one dared to open again, he pressed them harder. "Tell me everything. Leave nothing out." The girls exchanged a glance. They seemed to speak without words, a silent connection flowing between them. Finally, the scarred twin took a deep breath. "It came when we crossed the dark belt," she said. "A shadow that moved faster than light. It slipped through walls. It made voices that were not real. It told the crew lies. Some followed. Some vanished. Others fought. But they screamed only once." The man's heart hardened. He had heard rumors in the deep roots, stories of unseen predators, entities that fed on fear, things too strange to be explained. But he had always thought them myths to frighten children. Now, looking at the trembling twins before him, he felt doubt. The ship groaned again, the metal twisting as if alive. A console sparked, then died, leaving the room darker than before. The air felt heavy, pressing against his lungs. He aimed his weapon at the shadows, his finger tightening on the trigger. The younger twin gasped suddenly, clutching her sister's arm. "It listens," she whispered. "When we speak of it, it listens." The man's blood ran cold. He forced himself to stay calm. "If it listens, then we stay quiet. Show me where it came first." The twins hesitated. Then, slowly, they nodded. They led him through the corridor, their steps cautious, their breaths shallow. The man followed, every sense on edge. The ship seemed to change around him, corridors longer than before, shadows shifting like liquid, lights flickering in unnatural rhythms. At last, they reached a sealed chamber. The door was scratched, bent outward as if something inside had tried to escape. The twins stopped. They dared not move closer. This was where Captain died, the scarred twin said softly. The man stepped forward. He brushed his hand over the cold steel, feeling the deep gouges. Something had clawed its way out, not in. He swallowed hard. He wanted to open the door, to see the truth inside, but even he hesitated. He turned back to the twins. Why did it not take you? Silence. Their eyes lowered, avoiding his gaze. Answer me, he pressed. The younger one trembled, her voice breaking. It wanted us alive. The words struck him harder than any weapon. He studied their faces, searching for deceit, but only fear shone in their eyes. Why would a predator spare two fragile alien girls? Why leave them to wander this haunted ship until he arrived? Unless they were the reason it stayed. The ship suddenly lurched. Alarms blared to life for the first time, lights flashing red. The twins screamed and grabbed his arms, pulling him back. From somewhere deep within the ship came the sound of claws scraping metal, echoing closer and closer. The man raised his weapon, jaw tight, every muscle ready. His heart pounded, but his mind sharpened. This was no myth. This was real. He pulled the twins behind him, his voice steady despite the dread clawing at his chest. Stay close. If it comes, I'll kill it. But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. Something like this might not die so easily. The scraping stopped. Silence fell once more, heavier than before. The twins buried their faces against his arm, shaking. The man kept his weapon aimed at the shadows, waiting, listening. His breath was shallow. The silence stretched long, almost unbearable. Then a whisper filled the corridor. Not the twins, not him. A voice that seemed to crawl directly into his mind. Why protect them? The man froze. His eyes darted to the twins. They had not heard it. They were still clinging to him, trembling. The voice was for him alone. He tightened his grip on the weapon. He whispered back through clenched teeth, because they're alive, and I protect what's alive. The silence broke with a low, chilling laugh that echoed inside his skull. Then it was gone. The man breathed hard, sweat rolling down his neck. He turned to the twins. We're not safe here. Take me to the reactor core. If I can shut this ship down, maybe I can force it out. The girls hesitated, but then nodded. Together, they turned deeper into the ship. As they walked, the man felt the weight of the truth pressing down on him. The crew had been taken. The ship was no longer theirs. And the twins were more than just survivors. They were bait. The corridor stretched on like a tunnel with no end. The man moved forward with his weapon ready, his eyes sharp, his steps slow and steady. Behind him, the twins followed closely, almost pressing against his back. He could feel their fear like a cold wind, clinging to him with every breath they took. They did not want to be left behind. The lights above flickered again. For a moment, the hallway turned black, and in that instant, the man felt the girls clutch at his arm. When the light returned, he saw their wide eyes staring at him, full of desperation. You said you protect us, the scarred twin whispered, her voice shaking. But why? Why not leave us? The man glanced at her. His face was hard, unreadable. Because leaving someone behind, he said slowly, is something I don't do anymore. The twins looked at each other, their strange silent bond passing unspoken words. Then the younger one, voice fragile, asked, But if saving us means it kills you, will you still stay? The man didn't answer. His silence was heavier than words. He kept walking, weapon raised, every muscle tense. The twins followed, but inside their hearts, doubt began to rise. He was human, and humans were dangerous. They had heard stories in whispers of how humans fought like beasts, how they survived where others died, how they could become monsters when cornered. And now one of them had seized their ship. One man, alone. Could they really trust him? Or had they only traded one predator for another? The scarred twin studied him as they moved through the dim halls. His movements were sharp, precise like a hunter. His eyes were cold, scanning every corner, every shadow. He carried himself not like prey, but like something that had faced death many times and walked away each time. She shivered, realizing that he was not afraid of the ship, or even of the thing that haunted it. He was afraid of nothing, and that made him even more dangerous. Yet when the younger one stumbled on a broken pipe, the man turned quickly, steadying her with a strong hand. His grip was firm but not cruel. He didn't push her away. He held her until she found her balance, then released her without a word. The younger twin blinked at him, her chest rising with surprise. For a moment she forgot her fear, but the silence did not last long. From deeper in the ship came a metallic shriek, long and sharp like claws dragging across steel. The sound echoed through the corridors, chasing them like a storm. The girls whimpered, clinging to the man. His weapon was already raised, his body tense, his eyes scanning. "Stay close," he ordered, his voice steady, cold. The sound grew, louder, closer. The ship trembled beneath their feet. The twins felt tears press at their eyes, but they held them back. They couldn't cry now. Crying would only make the sound stronger, as if it fed on fear. The man turned into a side passage, pulling them with him. They ducked into a maintenance room, sealing the door behind them. The lights inside were dim, casting long shadows across crates and pipes. The twins pressed against the wall, their small bodies trembling. The man stood in the center, weapon, ready, his breath calm, controlled. He looked at the girls. Their eyes glistened in the dark, their faces pale. They were waiting for him, for his decision, for his strength. He spoke at last. "You say it wants you alive. Why?" The scarred twin bit her lip, her voice shook. "We do not know, but it whispers to us. At night, it says our voices are keys. That through us, it opens doors." The man frowned. His mind raced. Keys, doors. If that was true, then the twins were not just survivors. They were tools. Tools for something that had already taken the crew. Tools to open something far worse. He looked at them again, and his thoughts darkened. Could he trust them? Or were they already under its control, waiting for the moment to betray him? The younger one stepped forward suddenly, her hands trembling as she reached for his arm. "Please believe us. We are not it. We are only afraid. We only want to live." Her touch was soft, fragile, yet it burned into him like fire. For a moment, he felt something he had buried long ago, a flicker of humanity, of the man he had been before war and death turned him to stone. But then he pulled his arm away. "Wanting to live doesn't make you safe," he said coldly. The scarred twin's eyes hardened at his words. "And killing us does not make you strong," she whispered. "Theory." Silence that followed was sharp as a blade. The man stared at them, his eyes unreadable. The twins stared back, their fear mixed now with something else, anger. Then the ship groaned again. The door rattled as if something heavy slammed against it. Dust fell from the ceiling. The younger twin screamed, clutching her sister. The man stepped forward, placing himself between the door and the girls. His weapon pointed straight ahead. His heart pounded, but his face remained stone. He whispered to himself, too quiet for them to hear. "Fear or trust, and it doesn't matter now. Whatever's behind that door is the real enemy." The door bent inward with a screech. Darkness seeped through the cracks, crawling across the floor like smoke. The twins cried out. The man raised his weapon higher. This was no longer a question of trust. It was a question of survival. The door shuddered again, metal bending inward, like soft clay. The sound was a scream of steel tearing against itself. The man planted his feet firmly, weapon aimed, every nerve in his body alive with focus. Behind him, the twins clung together, their small bodies shaking. Their breaths came fast, shallow as if they already knew what waited outside. With one final strike, the door split open, sparks spraying across the room. The lights flickered, then steadied just long enough to show the thing that stepped inside. At first it was only a shadow, a black shape that crawled along the floor, twisting and bending in ways no body should move. Then the light struck it, and its form became clear. Its body was long and thin, stretched as if pulled too far. Its skin shimmered like liquid metal, shifting with every step. Where a face should have been, there was only a void, a hollow blackness, empty, but watching. The twins screamed. The sound echoed through the chamber, but the thing did not flinch. Instead, it leaned forward, the hollow where its face should be tilting toward them. And then, a voice filled the room. Not from its mouth, but from everywhere, from the walls, the floor, the very air itself. "They are mine." The man didn't hesitate. His weapon roared, blasts of fire lighting the room. The shot struck, the creature tearing through its shifting body. But instead of falling, it only twisted, its liquid flesh reforming around the wounds. It shrieked, a sound that made the twins collapse to their knees, covering their ears. The man gritted his teeth, firing again and again. Still it did not die. The shadow lunged forward, its body sliding like liquid across the floor. The man rolled aside, pulling the twins with him. The thing struck the wall where they had stood, the metal hissing as if burned by acid. He pulled the girls behind a crate, his heart pounding. His weapon hummed, energy cells draining fast. He could not waste shots. He needed something more, something real. The scarred twin clutched his arm, her eyes wide with terror. "It will not stop. You cannot kill it." The man's gaze burned into hers. "Everything can be killed." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at his mind. This was no raider, no pirate, no predator of flesh and blood. This was something else. Something older. Something wrong. The younger twin sobbed, tears streaking down her pale face. "It wants us. It said we are keys. If it takes us, the door's open." The man's jaw tightened. "Then we don't let it take you." The shadow struck again, slamming into the crate. The impact threw them all to the ground. Dust filled the air. The twins coughed, clutching each other. The man rolled to his feet, weapon ready. But the thing was already moving. It rose taller now, stretching upward until its head scraped the ceiling. Its form wavered, bending, splitting, until for a moment it had the shape of a man, a human man. The twins gasped. The man froze for only a second, and then the voice spoke again, this time not deep and alien, but in a perfect echo of his own voice. "Protect them, yes. But at what cost?" The words crawled under his skin. Hearing his own voice spill from that hollow void made his stomach twist. He fired again, rage burning through him. The blasts tore holes in the shadow's body, but once more it healed, reforming as if nothing had touched it. The twins screamed his name, though he had never told them what it was. Their voices cracked with desperation, their eyes pleading with him not to fall. The man backed toward the far wall, dragging them with him. His weapon hissed, a warning that it was nearly empty. He glanced at the reactor map burned into his memory. He knew the ship's core wasn't far. If he could reach it, maybe he could overload it, burn this thing from existence. But the shadow blocked the way, twisting and crawling, its body spreading across the floor like spilled ink. The man lifted, his weapon, one last time. "If you want them," he growled, "you'll have to go through me." The shadow stilled. For a moment, the room was silent. Then it laughed, a horrible sound, a chorus of voices echoing all at once. The twins shook with fear, pressing their faces into his back. Finally, the voice whispered again, soft and cold. "Then bleed for them." The creature surged forward faster than before, a wave of darkness filling the chamber. The man shoved the twins behind him, his weapon spitting fire until the last cell drained dry. The blasts lit the darkness, showing glimpses of claws, fangs, eyes that were not eyes. The shots ended. The weapon clicked empty. The man dropped it and drew his knife. A simple blade of steel, primitive, human, real. He held it steady, his face hard as stone. The twins screamed his name again. The shadow lunged, and the chamber erupted into chaos. The chamber shook as the shadow lunged. The man moved like lightning, dragging the twins aside, his knife flashing in his hand. The blade slashed through the black form, cutting it apart, but instead of bleeding, the shadow split like smoke, reforming instantly. It shrieked, a sound that made the twins collapse to the ground, their hands clamped over their ears. The man roared, striking again and again, each swing filled with fury. The knife tore through the creature, but the wounds healed as fast as they opened. The shadow laughed, its voice now mixed with hundreds of whispers, some sounding like the dead crew, others echoing the twins' own cries. The man gritted his teeth, his arms trembling. His blade was real, but this enemy was not. He could not fight smoke. He could not fight a lie, but he could fight for them. He grabbed the twins, pulling them up. "Run!" he shouted. They stumbled to their feet, tears streaming down their faces. But the creature spread across the chamber, blocking the exits, its black form stretching into endless claws and fangs. It filled the room with darkness so heavy, it felt alive. The scarred twin screamed, "It wants us, not you. If we give ourselves, maybe it lets you live." The man spun on her, his eyes blazing. "No," the younger twin sobbed, "but if we stay with you, you die." The shadow's voice filled the chamber, wrapping around them like chains. "Yes, one life for two, a fair trade. Give them and walk free. Or fight, and all of you perish." The man's heart pounded. His breath came fast, but his face was stone. He stared at the twins, fragile, trembling, clinging to each other in fear. He could walk away. He could save himself. He owed them nothing. They were strangers, alien girls from a world he had never seen. And yet, their voices, their eyes, their trembling hands reminded him of something long buried. Long ago he had failed to protect someone, a sister, a comrade, a child. He no longer let himself remember which. The galaxy had stolen too much from him. But not this. Not again. He lifted his knife. "You're right," he growled, staring into the void. "One life for two, but it won't be theirs." The shadow paused. The laughter faded into silence. The void itself seemed to lean closer, curious. The man stepped forward, pushing the twins behind him. His blade caught the weak light, glowing silver. "You wanted me to bleed for them. Then I will." The creature surged faster than lightning. The man met it head-on, driving his blade into the void. The explosion of energy shook the ship, sparks raining from the ceiling. The twins screamed his name as the chamber filled with light and shadow colliding in a storm. The man felt the darkness tear into him, claws raking his flesh, voices ripping at his mind. But he held on, forcing the blade deeper. He thought of the twins behind him, their fragile bodies, their desperate cries. He thought of humanity, small, fragile, hated, but never broken, and he roared. The blade cut through the heart of the shadow. For the first time, the creature screamed in pain. Its body writhed, twisting, splitting apart. Black smoke poured out, filling the room, choking the air. But the man did not let go. He drove the knife until his hand burned with fire. Then, silence. The shadow collapsed, melting into the floor like oil. The chamber shook one last time, then stilled. The lights flickered weakly, then steadied. The void was gone. The man dropped to his knees, his chest heaving. His knife clattered to the ground, covered in black ash. His vision blurred, his strength fading. Behind him, the twins rushed forward, catching his shoulders. "You saved us," the younger one whispered, tears falling freely. The scarred twin pressed her hands against his wounds, desperate, trembling. "Don't leave us, please." The man looked at them, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. A faint smile touched his lips, a rare, fragile thing. "I told you I don't leave anyone behind." Then his body slumped, his vision fading into darkness. The twins cried out, holding him tightly. The ship groaned around them, but this time, it was not the sound of claws or shadows. It was the sound of engines awakening, systems slowly returning to life. The ship, once haunted, was breathing again. The twins held him close, their tears falling onto his bloodied chest. For the first time they were not alone. But as the lights returned deep within the ship, a faint whisper lingered. Soft, cold, waiting. One life for two. But the doors are not closed. The twins froze, their eyes wide with horror. The nightmare was not over.